Demand is an economic concept that describes a buyer's desire, willingness, and able to pay a price for a specific quantity of a good or a service. Demand refers to how much of a product or a service is desired by buyers. The quantity demanded is the amount of a product people are willing to buy at a certain price. The factors affecting demand: goods on price. The basic demand relationship is between potential prices of a good and the quantities that would be purchased at those prices. Generally, the relationships is negative, meaning that an increase in the price will induce a decrease in the quantity demanded. The price of related goods. The principal related goods are complements and substitutes. A complement is a good that is used with the primary good. Examples include hot dogs and mustard, beer and pretzels, automobiles and gasoline. Perfect complements behave as a single good. If the price of the complement goes up, the quantity demanded of the other good goes down. The personal disposable income. In most cases, the more disposable income after the tax and receipt of benefits a person has, the more likely the person is to buy. The taste of preference. The greater the desire to own a good, the more likely one is to buy the good. There is a basic distinction between desire and demand. Desire is a measure of the willingness to buy a good based on its intrinsic qualities. Demand is the willingness and ability to put one's desire into effect. It is assumed that taste and preferences are relatively constant. Consumer expectations about future prices and income. If a consumer believes that the price of the good will be higher in the future, he is more likely to purchase the good now. If the consumer expects that his income will be higher in the future, the consumer may buy the good now. Nature of the good. If the good is a basic commodity, it will lead to higher demand. The demand curve. The demand curve is a graphical representation between price and quantity demanded. Its slope is negative, showing that when price increases, then quantity demanded declines. The income and substitution effects. The negative slopes of the demand curve is due to the substitution and income effects. If the relative price of good falls, consumers will substitute that good for more expensive goods. The supply. Supply is the amount of some product producers are willing and able to sell at a given price, while other factors being held constant. Usually supply is plotted as a supply curve, showing the relationship of a price to the amount of product businesses are willing to sell. The factors affecting supply. Goods on price. The basic supply relationship is between the price of a good and the quantity supplied. Although there is no law of supply, generally the relationship is positive, meaning that an increase in price will induce an increase in the quantity supplied. The expectations. Seller expectations concerning future market conditions can directly affect supply. If the seller believes that demand for his product will sharply increase in the foreseeable future, the firm owner may immediately increase production in anticipation of future price increases. Number of suppliers. The market supply curve is a horizontal simulation of the individual supply curves. As more firms enter the industry, the market supply curve will shift out, driving down prices. Price of inputs. Inputs include land, labor, energy, and raw materials. If the price of inputs increases, the supply curve will shift left as sellers are less willing or able to sell goods at any given price. For example, if the price of electricity increased, the seller may reduce his supply for his product because of the increased cost of production. The supply curve. The relationship of a price and supply curve. The curve is generally positively sloped. The curve depicts the relationship between two variables only: price and quantity supplied. All other factors affecting supply are held constant. However, these factors are part of the supply equation and are typically present in the constant term. The demand and supply for the housing market. The determination of prices in local and regional housing markets is a classic example of microeconomics in action, whereas we are seeing the interaction between buyer and seller, with the price being offered and agreed before the final transaction is made. In this section, we focus on the demand and supply side factors that determine the value of properties in the market. Each housing transaction in the UK depends on first thing, the price that the seller is willing to agree for their property with the prospective buyer. Second thing, the actual price that the buyer is willing and able to pay. The seller's market, when the market demand for properties in a particular area is high and when there is a shortage of good qualities properties. And then the balance of power in the market shifts towards the seller. This is because there is likely to be excess demand in the market for good properties. Sellers can wait for offers on their property to reach their minimum selling price. A buyer's market, conversely, when demand both for new and older housing is weak and when there is a glut of properties available on the market. Then the power switches to potential buyers. They have a much wider choice of housing available and they should be able to negotiate a price that is however lower than the published price. Here I'm gonna show you the diagram. This is our choice. And that's the graph. As you can see, the supply curve is moving to the right. When the demand for houses, when the demand for houses in a particular area increases, perhaps because of an inflow of population to the area or a rise in incomes following a fall in unemployment, there is upward pressure on market prices. Often the supply of available housing, the market is relatively inelastic. This is because there are time lags between a change in price and an increase in the supply of new properties becoming available, or other homeowners deciding to put their properties onto the market. When demand shifts outwards and supply is inelastic, the result is a large rise in the market, and the relatively small expansion of the quantity of houses traded. As supply becomes more elastic over time, assuming the conditions of demand remain unchanged, we expect to see downward pressure on the prices and a further increase in the equilibrium quantity of houses bought and sold. Here's the graph. The graph.
حاول تبوز شو ماشي شو سوي